Welcome back
to the Not So Perfect Podcast. Matt Chinn here as always with
Gerardo Cornejo.
Mr. Gerardo Cornejo.
Mr. Gerardo Cornejo.
The yoga extraordinaire.
Shout out to 1111 Yoga, Miss Darcy.
Darcy Smith. She's the best in town.
Kicked our butts yesterday. Matt's been going to yoga, and I finally decided to show up.
Well, let's not throw anybody
Well, actually, Stacy gave me a real invitation.
Let's not throw anybody under the bus. Matt and Stacy have both been going to hot yoga.
Matt and Stacy have both been attending Thursday mornings hot yoga. My first time doing it. Kicked my butt, sweated, freeing. The girl next to me, I also knew, she was like, so what do you think? What are you thinking? Like, are you liking this? Like
before or after?
This was in the middle. We had like halftime, right? Halftime.
Yeah. Water break.
Water break. She's like, what are you thinking? I was like, I'm not. And I love it. So it's the beautiful thing about yoga. It's showing up for yourself and for your body, your brain.
Giving yourself an hour just to unplug.
Yeah, and incredible, just an incredible experience. So shout out to 1111 Yoga.
Yep.
I will be back. And
so that was, just not to cut in, that was my first yoga class. I remember about 15 minutes in, like it hit me like, I haven't thought about anything else other than what I'm doing in this exact moment. I'm like, I need more of this. And that's where I was like, I'm sold.
They get you prepared for that, though. You don't just go in, lay down, and then like your brain's free. Like
she walks you through it. She gets everything through the. She takes you through the routine and just the path to get to a place of stillness.
Stillness is key.
Not to steal any of your phrases, but your buzzwords, Darcy. But
no,
I'm learning and I'm remembering. That's why I'm able to regurgitate them.
And what I love what she said, as we talked about it last night, when you're rushing to die. When you're rushing to die. So it's a great time to slow down.
Yeah.
And
a lot of good one-liner yoga.
And the music was on point. Matt knows the playlist by heart.
No, it's just nice having another man in there because usually it's just me. So I'm
just one man going.
I'm usually the butt of most of the jokes, no pun intended. But since we had a new male in there yesterday, I encouraged her to play something fun and provocative. So
all eyes were on me.
She did that right away, so it was good. Play a little Genuine in case any of those that are curious.
But took me back. but going slowing down and rushing to today's episode, which we will talk about stress.
The silent killer.
The silent killer, the one big word. I kind of want to go towards like what we usually do here, towards male stress, but we can go anywhere with it. So my opening question today is, what would change in your life if you treated stress as something to manage, not something to muscle through alone? So what would change in your life if you treated stress as something to manage, not something to muscle through alone? And we're not really, it's hard managing a bunch of things as you're going through this week. You don't have an assistant managing stuff. I don't know. How do you handle stress? Do you have any stress? I mean, you got it all figured out. You got the bod.
I got all the stress this week for sure. So what I would say is, what would change in my life if I treated stress as something to manage as opposed to something to muscle through alone? So I might have a different perspective than I guess maybe what you might think, but that's largely just due to my journey that I've been through up until
that's
today.
What we're here for.
So for me, like, everything I've done in my life up until the moment I got sober was lone wolf. Muscle through it, don't ask for help, bite down on that mouthpiece and just get through it, grit through it. And that's, if you know my track record, and if you've listened to this podcast enough, you know where I've come from, you know where I've been, you know where I've dug myself out of. So first off, I don't encourage anybody to do it alone, because the more I tried doing it alone, the deeper my hole got and the more trouble I found myself in. So for me, my moment of not trying to just power through the stress, but to manage it, with breathing techniques, journaling, going to hot yoga, doing things for myself. All these things I've been adding to my life ever since 6.5 years ago. My life has become better in every aspect. Not one, not certain ones. Every aspect of my life has gotten better because I've learned, instead of drinking my way through the problem, which doesn't really solve anything, it just kind of kicks the can down the road for a later date. I'm okay with handling whatever it is today, yesterday, tomorrow, whatever it is that might pop up or come. Again, what we were talking about before we started the pod, You know, we always rush. We're always rushing to get this. We got to do that. We got to pick this kid up and drop this kid off and do this. And all we're doing is we're rushing to die. You know, we're rushing to do all this stuff. And in the end of it, where are we rushing to? You know, and eventually it's just going to be to our grave.
And in our words, in our head, but I can't slow down.
Yeah.
But I can't slow down. I got to be there.
I
got it.
You got to take care of the family. You got to provide for work. You got to
yeah, if not, like we're not perfect. And if we don't do this, we're not perfect. And our kids will be mad, or my wife will be mad, or I'm going to be mad if she sends me at the wrong time.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that by managing stress as opposed to just either kicking it down the road or having unhealthy or stress management techniques and tactics, it's just going to be a lot of just beating your head up against the wall over and over, you know. But what it took for me, last thing here, what it took for me is I had to surrender to my higher power. I had to surrender to God that I am not capable of managing, at that point in my life, anything. I couldn't do anything right. It seemed like everything I tried was going backwards. But the moment I reconnected with God, asked him for his help, and not just set it to get out of another DWI or to get out of jail or to, you know, just so I could get my next drink 3 days later, a week later, or whatever it would have wound up being, I meant it. You know, I fully surrendered. I was on my knees in jail asking for help, and that sweeping wave of, I don't know if it was the Holy Spirit or what we want to call it, but it was almost like an out-of-body experience that touched me, and in that moment, everything changed.
Yeah.
You know, I truly felt the weight of the shoulders get lighter. I felt like someone just picking up that backpack, taking it off my shoulders, and I was free to live my life. And not just that day, but for the first time what it felt like in my life. You know, I just felt like I wasn't carrying everybody's buckets for them, and it was just me. You know, so from that point on, I did whatever God was speaking for me to do that time or that day or that point in my life. I didn't question it, I just did it. And everything I've done up until this point has led me to where I am. And I wouldn't be anywhere positive if this didn't happen.
Mm-hmm. No, I like how you related that to alone. You were alone at the time, alone in your own thoughts. And
well, even if I was out at the bar with a bunch of quote unquote friends, and drinking buddies, you know, I was alone the whole time. You know, it didn't matter how many. I would just try and surround myself with people because I just felt this emptiness inside me that I just couldn't fill. You know, and unfortunately, I was trying to fill it with the wrong things. You know, but I'm just grateful today that I've had a second chance to go about life and not deal with it just in chaos. And that's the best way I can describe how my life was. It was just constant chaos of waking up hungover, trying to figure out where my car was, trying to figure out where my phone was, or if my phone was broke, this was every day. I mean, it was nonstop towards the end. And you can't manage a life that way. It's just it's not healthy. Something's going to give, whether it be me, whether I get behind the wheel one more time and kill myself, kill somebody else, injure somebody, injure myself. So the managing of stress is a huge bullet point for me, for people that, whether I just start working with or people I meet. How do you manage your stress? You know, you seem pretty high strung, you're pretty worn out. What do you do for yourself? And the look they give you, like, what do I do? I've got kids, I got a wife, I got a business I'm running.
You want me to think about
like,
fixing myself?
About? And I'm like, dude, I go, if you keep this up, like, you're going to have a massive heart attack at 55. You know, you cannot do this on your own, you know.
Shoot, 35 now, man. Those numbers we're seeing nowadays.
Yeah. So, I mean, the stress management is something that I harp on with all of my friends, all the people I meet, just people having struggles with any aspect of their life, not necessarily just drinking, but whatever it is. We've all got problems, okay? Like we say on the podcast, we're not so perfect. Neither is anybody else. We just try and be honest when we're wrong. If I make mistakes, I want to be the first one to come forward and let you guys know that I made a mistake, because that's how I have to live my life now. If I don't do these things, I'll slide right back to the old ways. So daily practice is what I do.
That's a lot of pressure.
Not if you manage it. Not if you manage it. Not if you got God to take care of the things that I'm not in control of, and that was the other big delineation was, what are you in control of? You can set your alarm clock in the morning. You can either choose to wake up or you can hit snooze till 8 o'clock in the morning, So I try and manage the things that I'm in control of, and the things I'm not, just for instance, as an example, look at the chaos going on throughout the country right now. Certain states, certain places of the country, there's chaos, Now, what is me being up all night watching Twitter, YouTube videos, watching, the mainstream media? what benefit is that going to do for me in my tasks for today or tomorrow or the next day? I can't do anything about it, you know, but what I can do is I can affect those around me, whether that be in this building, my clients, Gerardo and his crew, Heather and Keith, the girls from insurance, you know, so I always look at it from internal, and then I work my way out to my circles, you know, whether it be with me first, kind of come to an understanding, come to a conversation, then it spreads out into this building, and it spreads out, you know, in the community where I go and get gas, where I go and get coffee, where I go and have lunch or whatever it is. And I just try and just spread smiles and kindness and cheer to everybody, because
that's how you manage it.
You never know what someone's going through, you know? And a lot of times, I mean, I've had stories where I was working in the restaurants where, you know, someone comes up to pay their check and ask them how everything was, and they're very short and just this and that and just kind of being rude. And I almost take pride in like getting that person to smile before they get the receipt and sign it and head out the door. You know, there's this one time I had this lady, and I was like, she was going back and forth with me. I said, well, how was your lunch? You know, well, you know, it was fine. You know, well, ma'am, can you please tell me more? We'd like to make sure if something was wrong, we'd like to fix it and do better so this doesn't happen again. It was fine. I just want to pay it. I'm like, well, if your food wasn't good, I can take something off. We want to make this right. We want you to leave when you're happy. It's fine. I'll just pay whatever. I said, ma'am, is everything okay? And she broke down in tears right at the front desk. And it turns out that she had a family member that just passed away, you know? Now, I don't know that because A, I'm not a mind reader, okay? But secondly, if I didn't stop and ask that simple question, ma'am, are you doing okay? I never would have found out what her problem was. I would have just thought she was a bitch. You know, I thought that person's rude or whatever it is. You know, so taking that, I mean, that was a 1 second sentence that I asked her, question I asked her. And by the time she left, we hugged. She said, thank you, and she left. And every time she came back, she'd always smile at me, you know? So simple things like that. You know, we've talked about on the podcast too. I wave at all my neighbors when I take the dog on a walk. Now I don't even think about it. I just do it automatically, you know? And, you know, so again, just little things you can do to help make your neighborhood better, your workplace better, your community better. Like, it's not on anybody else to make your situation better. It's up to you, you know, and that starts internally.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Which kind of carries on to our the next topic I want to say. Men carry stress silently. Most men don't say, I'm stressed. They say, I'm good.
Yeah.
Just that example. I'm fine. I'm good. How was your lunch today?
Fine.
It was good. Fine. I'll pay it. It's fine.
Fine never means fine.
No. Silence delays relief. It doesn't eliminate stress. So how should a man open up about stress instead of saying, I'm good, bro. I'm fine, bro.
Well,
it's all good.
First thing is I'd be cautious of who you open up to. You know, you got to make sure you're talking to the right people. You know, I had one of my past wrestlers that I used to coach. He reached out to me. He's 2 years sober on January 1st. He was 2 years sober. And we went out to lunch. I bought him lunch for his sobriety birthday. Got to catch up, chat. And then I got a call from him last week asking if we could sit down for coffee, which I knew something was going on. So we sat down this week, and I said, what's going on, buddy? And he said, I've got, you know, I thought I was doing really good, and now I'm just getting these super anxious panic attacks, like to the point where I'm just locking up and freezing and can't do it. And, you know, so we talked through it, you know. So he felt comfortable enough to open up to me about it. And I wasn't telling him he needs to do this, he needs to do that. The only way I can give advice is through my experience, you know. So what I would do whenever I was in this point of, you know, whenever I was 2 years sober, I was having these issues, you know. But the bigger thing we talked about was, you know, when you get sober, yeah, we fixed the big problem, but that's just one of many problems. This is just the biggest one we got to get taken care of first, you know. So after a period of time, you might have that top of the pyramid, the alcohol aspect of it, kind of move down to the bottom, okay, because we kind of got it under control. But now that that's not the problem, you're seeing clearer now in all other aspects of your life. So now you have about 12 other doors that you got to open that are smaller problems, but they're still your problems. You know, I need to do better at being honest. I need to do better about not being narcissistic and not thinking about only myself and the world revolving around me, which was all
that's
things
just
I
step
had to
one
dive
almost.
into. You know, so
fixing the big problem, step one.
Yeah. So again, you get the alcohol taken care of. Well, now you got two problems underneath that first block on the pyramid. You know, and then you figure those two out. And well, then you got three smaller ones. You know, so they're not as big of major issues, but there's just little things you got to fix along the way.
But it manages the top one.
What's that?
Fixing all these rows helps manage the top one.
Yeah. So you think about like the biggest block on a pyramid, that was my biggest problem, So now that I've kind of slid that over to the side, now we've got smaller problems, but just a different, a different slew of things that you're dealing through.
No, that's what's good. Like Mike at the office, he hung out with a bunch of older guys yesterday, and it's a good group of guys that just gets to go and be guys.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and there really is for young people to find good mentors that are older than you that have been through things, whether it be in the same line of work or just people that are looking to be better. Those are important moments, especially for the youth, to find a positive mentor that is going to lead you in a good path. Because if there's something you're experiencing at 21 and you got a 40-year-old mentor, there's a good chance that 40-year-old mentor has been through some aspect of what this 21-year-old kid. Now, instead of the 21-year-old kid lone wolfing it and going at it alone, you've got a resource that you can lean to on, hey, I'm going through this right now. I just got married. We just had our first kid. How do you manage, the stress, the work, the workouts? How do you still provide for yourself and take care of yourself without, sacrificing time with my little girl? It's like, well, there's answers to that, but you just have to make sure you're asking asking these questions to the right people,
Because they'll guide you.
Yeah.
I mean, they're there for guides. Like, there's no shortcuts, really.
I mean,
you still got to do the work.
You got to do the work. The work's not going to get done itself.
But you can at least learn from the people that have made the mistakes.
Well, and I tell these kids,
save time.
I tell these people all the time, like, do not make the same mistakes I did. Like, if I had someone like me at your age that I could talk to, like, God knows where my life would have went, Not saying it's any resentment or regret, but just, I don't want to see the people I know, the kids I used to coach, or people that reach out to me needing help. I don't want them to be banging their head against the wall for 6 months before they realize, if I just ask this lady that I can't make this meeting, and if there's another time, yeah, sure, go to this meeting at that time if that's easier for you. Like, oh my God, I've been killing myself for 6 months trying to make this meeting, couldn't make it.
That was a heavy 6 months too.
Yeah, a lot of running with the backpack.
That's a lot
of
stress.
Summer,
silence doesn't make stress go away. It just makes it heavier. Pick up the book. Pick up a book. We were talking about the book.
The AA Big Book.
The Big Book is what it's called. And I was just on a Zoom this weekend with one of my coaches, and it was all about surrender to your addictions.
Yep.
But hearing this other side of it all, he said, you just remove alcohol from the big book.
Change the word alcohol into whatever.
And it is a life book. It is a business book.
Yeah.
All the steps are there, and then just do the next thing right. So that's. It doesn't have to get heavier.
No. There's things out there that can help, And like I said, like, I'm one of the lucky people, and it's hard for people to understand, like, somebody that's in recovery that says, I'm grateful to be where I'm at. I'm grateful to go to AA meetings. I'm grateful to admit that I have a problem that I know I'm not in control of. I have to release a lot of that stuff to my higher power to give me the strength every day to keep doing the stuff that I've been doing.
Yeah.
But again, that big book, it is, if you substitute the word alcohol or alcoholic in that book for gambling, eating, narcissism, like, it doesn't matter what the vice is. Swap it in there for that, because all it's having you do is, anytime you're doing this stuff, you got to be honest. And it starts with yourself, then it starts with your smaller circles, your bigger circles.
Then it goes to accountability,
yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, so these are all important things, important references and guides and books that are out there that, I remember reading that book the first time while I was at rehab. It was like, just every page I turned was another light bulb, another light bulb, another light bulb, and this whole time I was lone wolfing it, thinking I'm the only one that's got this problem. Well, turns out this book's been around since the 1920s. A lot of people have referenced it, used it, and made it through the other side.
Decade-old book.
But the other thing is, there's other people that have not made it through that because it's too much for them. They can't do the things. They can't be honest with themselves. They cannot surrender to their higher power, and that's step one. And I see it all the time with people that are constantly in and out, back out of AA meetings, because they'll be good for 3 months, think they got it fixed, and then they go back out. And then they come back in with their tail tucked between their legs, and they're starting back over at step one, and I see people like that. They're never the ones that truly 100% surrender. They might be 90-10 or 95-5 or 80-20.
Yeah.
This is not one of those programs that you can do outside of 100% in, so.
Do you still have a copy of that book, or do you still have?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on the bookshelf.
Cool. I want to take a look at that book. I've never looked at that book.
I'll bring it in.
Which leads us to the next point. Provider pressure is the silent killer. Just because you don't have any children, you don't have a wife, doesn't mean you're not a provider. You can be stressed out on your own, on yourself, right?
Yeah.
Being a provider, because stress is often tied to responsibility, not weakness. Financial pressure, leadership, family expectations, and identity tied to performance compound stress. The more people rely on you, the heavier the pressure becomes. And it's usually males that step up to this platform, but I see it on moms. You know, like, yes, we have the business and the image men to take care of, but moms have first. They're the last person that they think about.
Yes.
Which is like, shout out to all the moms.
Very selfless moms.
It's everybody else's lives first. Maybe if there's enough time in a day, we'll think about me, you know. So me and my wife, we have they're going to be weekly sessions now instead of monthly sessions. And we had one this week. And it's even after almost 15 years of marriage and almost 20 years of communication, of knowing each other, we're still changing, we're still growing, we're still building, you know. It hasn't stopped, and it gets harder and harder. And then you add mortgages, bills to the event, then you add ideas and businesses, and then you add kids.
Yeah.
And then it's provider pressure is a real thing.
Yeah.
But again, it's manageable. It's not the end of the world.
All of it. All of it.
And you're, again, like, kind of what you're going through this week. There's a lot of things pulling Matt.
Well, and so just looking at my life compared to like Gerardo's, who's family man, got the kids, got the wife, got the stuff. So he's got a lot of his life spoken for in terms of his free time, his availability. A lot of it's devoted to work, kids, wife, rinse, wash, repeat. You know, maybe a little bit of extra stuff on the side for some fun, but occasionally, not an everyday thing. But for me, I have to, like, my success depends on me staying very busy, because I don't do well with downtime. Like, oh, you're going on vacation, going to the beach for 7 days. Oh, it's going to be great. You're going to come back so refreshed. I'm good for about 1 day of that, and then I got to be moving. You know, I got to be, because otherwise this guy just starts going in avenues that it doesn't need to go. So I keep my schedule very busy. You know, so I got my job here full time with Downtown Fitness. I run the Capital City Race, trying to organize that every year, which is part of the problem that we're having this week, just with the added stress. I was coaching wrestling practice last night after a super busy, super stressful day. You know, I still stay very active with AA and just helping others out that I'm mentoring, and just people like that I check in on. You know, so I keep myself super busy, but just because I have all these things super busy to keep me, that doesn't mean there aren't problems that pop up, you know, and that's what's going on this week. We're going to have an issue with our t-shirt design, so we're trying to battle through that. Now, is it going to be an easy process? Well, doesn't seem like it so far. But is the world going to end? Is the sun not coming up tomorrow if we don't get this thing resolved, or if we don't get the answer we want, or, you know, whatever it is? The sun's still coming up tomorrow. I'm still going to be breathing, still going to have my dog next to me, still going to have my parents that love me, my brother that lives down the street that I can talk to about anything. So again, it's just one of those things where you have to be, if you're going into like having a busy schedule, it's not like I didn't expect there to be issues, problems, stress associated with those. But what the difference is in my life today compared to how it used to be, I didn't know how to manage any of that shit. I would just wing it, and I would just throw something together, throw something at the wall, see what would stick. And today I've got a much better process of handling all this stuff. You know, I have people in my life.
You have a good team, too.
Yes, I have people that I can rely on, because I'm not a computer guy. I don't know much about any of that stuff, because I'm usually not in front of one most of the day. You know, which I had a bunch of people reaching out yesterday about, do you have this picture? Can I get this? Can we get the watermark off of this if we get a credit in the article, and this and that? And it's like, you guys are asking me questions. I have no clue. Like, when's the deadline? When do you need the answers by? And they said, we need it by Monday the 2nd. I said, you'll have your answers by then. I cannot do this right now. Like, sorry, I don't sit in front of a computer all day. I can't just pull stuff up like that, because I'm usually, that's not how my business works. So I have people that are smarter than me in certain areas of the race planning process and all that do know how to do those things, you know. So if I have to ask really basic questions about what would probably be very like, hey, something about a mortgage or something about a real estate deal that you're like, that's day one stuff, bro. Like, that's where I'm at on all of that stuff. You know, I have no idea. I need you talking like I'm 5 for it to make sense. You know, but you got to be willing to, I mean, if you want to have a purpose and have it carry weight, there's got to be problems and problem solving and stress and managing all that stuff along the way, because, you know, that pyramid, who's at the top, those are the people that are usually handling most of the stress or handling most of the questions or headaches or hiccups or, you know, issues that pop up. So, yeah, it's just how I manage things today versus how I used to. I have a method, a routine, and people I can lean on if I have questions that I can't answer myself. Instead of,
now you could be,
I'll figure it out, or I'll just, you know, I'll look at it again tomorrow. Like, no. Just stop. Let's get this done now. Like, because it doesn't mean we're going to get it fixed right now, but the more time you can put in towards fixing the problem, better chance you're going to have at solving that problem.
It's tough being a provider.
Yeah. Yeah.
How far ahead are you?
It's different. This is a single person that doesn't have a wife or kids versus somebody that does. So again, 2 different sides of the spectrum in terms of what you do when you first wake up in the morning, you know, versus what I do whenever I first wake up in the morning. I kiss my dog in the morning. You probably kiss your kids, you know, like. It's different, but it's very similar. You know what I mean? Shout out Carlos. Shout out Carlos, the dog, the myth, the legend.
Provider pressure doesn't ask if you're tired; it just expects you to show up.
Bingo.
So showing up is a big one.
Yeah.
I want to go to, and I'm glad you brought this word up because it's going to be the title of this podcast. But surrender and do the next thing right. Surrender is not quitting. It's accepting reality so you can act wisely. It's not a response. No, it's not a reaction. Surrendering is not a reaction. It's a response. You can't control outcomes, but you can control the next right action. It is that simple.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, it breaks down to surrendering. For me, it went to surrendering to my higher power. Once I surrendered to him, then I had to surrender to myself. You know, forgiving myself, not looking at myself as the person I was and looking at myself as the person I am. That's done a lot of good things in the time since. You know, but in that big book, it talks about rigorous honesty, and that's what I love about it. Is the language in that book. I mean, it's written in the early 1900s, but the language is so eloquent and so beautiful because they could just say, "This program demands honesty."
No.
Well, yeah. Sometimes, right? Rigorous honesty, you know? So it's not just saying, well, yeah, 90% of the time, be honest. But, you know, those other ones don't really matter if you lie. Like, it's cool. No. Anything you're doing that goes against what is right or the next right thing, you have to be promptly admit where you made errors, whether that be you were stressed, you jumped somebody's ass because they talked to you at the wrong time, popped in your desk, asked you something when you just got off a bad phone call. Like 5 minutes later, you feel like a piece of shit. Then you got to get up. You got to go apologize to whoever. Like, I'm really sorry about how I spoke with you. You just caught me at a super bad time and not appropriate. I need you to forgive me. If you don't, that's fine too. But I need to pay some penance for my actions. You know, and that happened to me real quick whenever we were up at Madison's. I jumped a girl's butt because it was her first Friday night working at a restaurant on a busy Friday night at a busy restaurant. And like we warned her ahead of time, like it's not going to be like you're used to on Mondays and Tuesdays, you know, where it's a little bit slower. It's a whole different ballgame. Oh, I got it. I'm ready. I don't think you are, but okay, you're going to have to experience it. And yeah, one of those things where I kind of was like, hey, you have to be moving all the time. Like, you're standing still is not an option on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Like, you have to stay busy, and if you're not busy, you need to get in the back and help out back there. Like, that's how this goes, and this is what you're signed up for, you know, but I did it not as polite as I should have, and I kind of was, you know, managing 25 different things, 30 different reservations, a waiting list that's 3.5 pages long, and, you know, so again, after I did that, I was going through my day, just kept moving, super busy, and then one of the other servers from the back comes up and says, so-and-so's in the back crying. It's like, so swallow my pride, go back there, apologize, explain to her, let her know, like, I'm not mad at you. I was like, I'm just letting you know, like, this is what it takes. And if you're not ready for it, or if you're not prepared to do this on a weekly basis, like, that's fine too. It's not for everybody, but you got to be able to manage yourself, and because we're running the business here, you want to do a good job.
And that's why it's hard. We weren't born to be managers.
No.
We weren't born to manage all these things. That's why it is hard.
Yeah. I mean, and there's no playbook on how to do everything right or how to manage that stuff correctly. Just like when you have kids, they don't send you home with the perfect parent's guide to raising kids. It's
and even if there was one, there'd be a quadrillion different versions of it for every kid. But when we're taught that surrender is just white flag and we lost the war. I just remember from the cartoons, that's what surrendering means, like weakness.
Yeah.
I'm weak, I didn't win, I didn't have a big enough army. No, it's like surrendering, like letting the ego go away. And then the Zoom class was about addiction and debt. So a big one is like when you get in the business world, like, all right, start buying all the stuff, start financing, get into debt, dig that hole, dig that hole, dig that hole. He gives the example. He owed the IRS $4 million. He hadn't filed taxes in 17 years. So yeah, we're all logged in because it's like, how did you do it? And it was like exactly what it said, just showing up, being rigorously honest to himself. And the IRS wants their money. That's all they want.
Yeah.
They know you can't pay them if you're in jail. So communicate with the IRS or whoever you owe money to. They just want their money. But it does create stress in the business life. And the bills start coming up. And every month, I can afford this month. I had a great year. I can afford this. We can finance that vacation. Surrendering to debt is a huge lesson that I'm learning in my 40s.
Yeah.
Because I did listen to Dave Ramsey since I was 20. But I never wanted to. No, I had to have the things. I had to be cool. I had to have that, and I had to have that, and I've always wanted to build a house. Mm-hmm. So that was a non-negotiable. But all the other things along with it, and the boat thing, that was a debt that it was like, all right, we're gonna start bleeding. It's time to stop it.
Yeah.
And that was a hard thing to surrender, because we're lake people, we're boating people. No, there's plenty of boats out there.
Yeah.
90% of the boats at the lake don't get used. I'm sure someone will let me rent one.
Well, and so like just what we talked about last podcast. Consistency, showing up every day, chipping away a little bit at that debt, chipping out a little bit more at that debt.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be paid off that day.
As opposed to staying in the office from 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. for 3 days straight, so you're up for 72 hours straight because you're going to get all this shit done, and after the first 18 hours, you're useless because now you're all fucked up. You're not sleeping, you're not eating, stress is driving the bus instead of you being the one driving the bus.
And that leads to not consistent decisions, bad decisions.
Yes, because you're making irrational stuff because you're not slept, you're not, you don't have food in your belly, you don't have all the things you need to be thinking clear,
What part of the big book is about surrender? Do they bring that up?
Oh, that's
first chapter.
So that's one of the first things we read of every meeting is how it works. How it works. And I think I've read it on here before. I read it on the deal. So I'll bring the book in next week, or I'll bring it in whenever I see you next, and I'll let you thumb through it because there's dropping knowledge in that book, and it's old knowledge, So consistency, surrendering. Now the other thing I like to talk about is when it comes to like the surrendering aspect, especially from a male's perspective, because it seems like you're quitting. Okay, another word you can use instead of surrender is a retreat. All right, you see this in different sporting events. You see this in different military tactics. Retreating doesn't mean you're a quitter, doesn't mean you're a failure. It means you got another day to fight again. Okay? So let's say you have this beautiful game plan. Okay? My race is on Saturday, May 9th this year. I've got the whole game plan figured out. No worries, nothing going to happen, nothing going to go sideways. Well, guess what's happened every year that I've done this race? Something has always gone sideways, So it's one of those things. Am I going to sink? Am I going to swim? Or am I going to freeze? And a lot of people freeze because they don't know how to handle that stuff in real time and short distances to figure it out and get it squared away before the race starts at this time and this and that. But again, if it's something that I can do in the moment, let's do it. Now, if it's something that's out of my grasp that I would need to contact 6 different people on a Saturday morning at 6 o'clock in the morning and I know we're not going to answer their phones, okay, well, we're going to have to scrap the music up on High Street, okay? We just have to deal with it. That's all we got. That's all we can do.
Deal with it.
Okay? Now you can let that wreck your day or make a decision, stand on your decision, be confident in what your decision is, ask those people in your small circle to make sure you're not missing something that maybe they are. Maybe they have that phone number, that connection that they can make a call that you can't. You know, but you just have to be expecting for the worst. But like, you know, you hear a lot of people in the NFL talk about, hey, our defense is so good, punting is not a bad thing. But we got to score. Not if our defense doesn't let them score. Okay? So again, punting is not, don't force things into a turnover, into a pick six, into a fumble, into a recovered touchdown, you know? So again, all right, this drive didn't work. We'll punt it. We'll give it to our defense. They'll get us the ball back. They're going to give us another chance. Okay, let's try again. Let's come out with a different plan. Okay, a better plan. We know what doesn't work, so let's maybe lean into some things that might work. You know, so that's kind of an analogy I like to give. That, you know, surrendering for guys is really hard to swwallow.
I love
you know?
that. Retreats.
But retreating means you're going to live to fight another day.
Retreat is just that, oh shit.
Retreat doesn't mean you've
Oh,
quit
shit.
the war. It doesn't mean you're going to be in chains. It means you're getting the hell out of Dodge so you can regroup, replan, reprogram, and re-execute in a better way.
And if you get to breathe, if you're breathing, you get another chance. That's
If
why
you're breathing, you got the
yesterday, yeah,
If you're not,
the breathing
you don't.
you get another chance. Strong men don't control everything. They surrender the outcome or retreat and do the next thing right. I think that's the easiest way for this stress podcast and surrender to stress. Or we're all going through it.
Yeah.
We're all going through it. I don't matter what you're seeing, what's being posted. Get to have those. Say that word again. Not retreat. Rigorous conversations. Rigorous.
Yes, sir.
Have those rigorous conversations and be rigorously honest.
Yep. And again, make sure the people you're talking to are people that have knowledge greater than yourself. You know, I'm not going to be a 41-year-old person asking a 21-year-old advice on something they've never experienced or have never had to deal with. You know, so be wise in who you're putting in your circle. You know, make sure it's people you can trust, people that are going to shoot you straight. And again, a good way to know that is how many of those people in your small circle will call you out on your bullshit. All my small circle people will, and I encourage it because I don't want to. Because I can convince myself of a lot of things that I tell my buddies, like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? That makes no sense. Like, what do you mean? And then I hear their perspectives like, I totally didn't even think of that. Like, yeah, you're right. I was wrong. You know, like, thank you, dude. Because I don't want to be that guy that's out there thinking that I know everything because I sure as shit don't. You know, but I get worked up or I'm busy or I don't have time to really process a lot of things. So it's just boom, 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 boom. And then you get a chance to sit down and actually think about it and then talk about it with some people that you're close with. And you find out there's a whole aspect of something I wasn't even thinking of that's very important to the decision.
I'm glad you said that this morning with our team meeting. I said, hey, this is my goal for this year. Guys, please hold me accountable. Focus on health. Don't let me bring donuts to the office. Don't let me go buy sugar coffee. You know, so they're going to call me out on my BS.
Yeah, because here's the deal, guys. We're all super busy people. So it's real easy to justify, well, we can go to Izzy's Burgers and Shakes because, remember how hard we worked yesterday at yoga, right?
Yeah.
We've earned that. Like, well, right, but where's this getting us to our weight loss goal and our fitness goals? Like, do we need it or do we want it? There's a difference.
Yeah.
There's a difference. So, yeah.
But that's, again, stress is something you can manage. It's not something you do alone.
Yep.
So there's plenty of options for that. Reach out to us if you have any more questions. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah, and if you guys want that opening statement about the AA that I've read before, if you need to relook it up, you can go to Google and just type in, Google, type in AA, how it